Welcome to the Entrepreneurial Revolution on Radivision. I'm Mona DeFraui, the founder and CEO of Radivision, the new streaming and community platform for the startup world. Radivision believes that entrepreneurship and its equity creation are the most powerful ways to grow wealth and improve our world. And we're here to help everyone participate and succeed. We're no longer in the industrial revolution. We're in the entrepreneurial revolution, where equity is the new money. Entrepreneurship is the biggest trend on the planet today, with entrepreneurs as the new celebrities and trillions invested to create startup ecosystems worldwide. But 90% of all companies seeking venture capital fail to raise. And on the other side of the equation, 90% of all investors have little or no access to private market investments, which have delivered 70% higher returns than the public markets over the past 20 years, helping grow wealth faster than ever in history. I've been a member of a dozen startup teams over 3 decades, serving as founder and CEO of the last 4. I previously founded the first private market platform that delivers solutions to the startup industry's liquidity and returns problems caused by the IPO crisis after the internet bubble burst. Now, Radivision is democratizing the private market so everyone can grow wealth and more startups can be funded. Together, we have the power to usher in the greatest era of innovation, quality of life improvement, and wealth creation for all. I have been telling the stories of startups my whole career, and now Radivision tells startup stories at scale, where millions of consumers can tune in, be entertained, informed, and discover amazing founders, startups, investors, and resources. In Radivision's world, more get to play, and when everyone plays, we all win. Don't be left behind. Join the entrepreneurial revolution on Radivision. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Radivision, the new entrepreneurship network. We are so excited to have you here with us today and our esteemed and fabulous investors, VC and angel investors, and team members and advisors here with us today. So thank you for joining us. Radivision is doing something really big, and it's been much needed, in my opinion, for a very long time now. We have grown from a tiny little hidden industry, the entrepreneurship industry, to now the global economic paradigm. As you saw in the video, we're no longer in the industrial revolution, we're in the entrepreneurship revolution, and it's time for everybody to participate. So Radivision is here, unveiling entrepreneurship, pulling back the curtain and letting everybody in. We believe that entrepreneurship and its equity creation is the #1 way to innovate, to grow wealth, and to deliver solutions to the world. And Radivision is here to help everybody participate in that process. So please, everybody, welcome our amazing investors and founders. So I'll go to my right here on the screen and ask Art Case, the managing partner of 808 Ventures, to please introduce himself.
Hi, my name's Art. As a little background, as you can see from the gray hair, I've been here quite a while. I arrived in Silicon Valley back in the 70s and started out as just a developer in networking, went on to be manager, CEO, founder, and then sold that company, sold those companies, there were several, went on to help others raise funds, other entrepreneurs following the same path I did in a group called Telegroup, which I still operate today. In 2016, a partner and I decided to look at changing the way venture was done, and we started a venture capitalist company ourselves called 808 Ventures. Stands for the 3 time zones we operate in. We have offices in Perth, Silicon Valley, and London. And the goal was really to find out a way to do it better. And having been through the process and gotten the scar tissues, you can see there was many opportunities that the classical venture process missed. And while they've helped many of us, myself included, make money, have fun, and be successful, they leave a lot to be desired. So we set out with a goal to find out how it works by becoming one. Best way to learn how something works is to try it. So 2016, we created this boutique fund. We represent mostly money from family offices who also are faced with how do they deal with a world where technology is entering whatever their core business was to get them to be a family office in the first place. So you need a lot of entrepreneurs. And in 2020, it was 2020, Mona, that I met Mona at a very interesting format where you had about 2 minutes, I think it was, or maybe it was 3 or 4, to give your pitch. And since we already looked at how venture could be done better, Mona hit it right on the head. So kind of melded in 2 minutes. I kind of chased her down after the presentation, and 808 Ventures put in money probably about 30 days later. It was one of the fastest closes that we ever had done, or probably will do. And what connected us was Mona has seen something that we were looking for, and that is the connection between the masses who want to participate, but are shut out of this little closed club of Silicon Valley and other, quote, valleys, where the institutions play with each other, they play hard, and they don't give others a chance to get in, the little guys. So Mona hit the solution, came up with a interesting combination of services, which made it kind of hard to understand at first, because it's both, Mona may shoot me at this, but it's both a fintech and a media company. And it addresses what's needed, which is both sides of the equation. She's had an interesting time getting the two communities to understand the dynamic and the process. Secondly, we ran into, so it's been since 2020, we ran into the COVID situation, which set everybody back and kind of delayed the clock a little bit. So where are we now? We're at a point where Mona has used that time with ingenuity, hard work, just plain sweat, and inspiration to all, to actually use that time to integrate the concepts into a real operational entity. She's done what other people talk about at the stage they're raising money. And that's really important for those who are looking to invest now, because the timing is perfect. The risk has been eliminated. You don't have to listen to her promise that what she's going to do. She can demonstrate it. It's operating today. Secondly, timing is everything. There's a great TED talk by a guy named Bill Gross, who was the founder of a company back quite a while ago that's funded over hundreds, I think, of startups. And it's called Idea Labs. And if you get a chance, look at Idea Labs on TED, Bill Gross, timing. Because what he points out is his research and analysis, timing is the biggest factor in the success of a startup. And it's kind of surprising. It surprised me, but if you listen to him, he does a good job of explaining it. And so where does that bring us today? Radivision is poised perfectly for an investment, in my estimation, and in the 808s. The market is down. Prices are good for the investor. The need is bigger than ever. People have demonstrated their desire to, everyday people, to fund companies by throwing money at everything from Kickstarter to ICOs to Bitcoin. They want to play the game, and the amount of money is enormous, as Mona has already said. So right now is a perfect time to put some money in this particular opportunity, because the close is basically, it's a bargain. So plenty of time for questions, and more than willing to answer more in the future, but I'll turn it back to Mona.
Thank you so much, Art. I really appreciate it. And I appreciate all of the advising and support that you've given me, in addition to your terrific investment. So Meta, you and I have known each other for 10 years. You have been advising me even before I started Radivision. And thank you for joining as an investor and continuing now in your second term as advisor with the advisory board.
So, hello, everybody. I'm Meta, and as Mona said, I have been her life coach for 10 years, and we've become great friends. The thing I think that drew me to investing in becoming an investor in Radivision was, there were a couple. One is Mona has a vision of the future that is really remarkable. And I want to say this to the people of my friends and clients who are watching. We're talking about an investment or creation of a company here that isn't about creating more income. This is about creating wealth. And there's an an incredible difference. Income means you're working harder, you're trying to make your money work harder, you're doing all this stuff to your 401k and taking a third job and all this stuff. It's not what we're doing. We're creating a platform where people can grow wealth. And I think that this is particularly important for young people. My kids are in their 20s, so they're both entrepreneurs. This kind of a platform where they can present the work that they're creating, present their ideas, and then reach out to get to people who would actually support them and support the business, invest in their companies beyond what we're doing with Radivision. The vision that Mona has on what she's created, what you see in this beautiful, beautiful platform that she's created and the programs that she's created is stunning, and it's stellar, and it's, I think, really important. As Art says, the timing is right, the time is now, and there are, I think, people that haven't been included yet, which would be the people in their 20s, maybe even in their 30s. I think this is a really important vision of the future for them. After COVID, we see so many people who don't want to go back to work for the man, or woman. They don't want to go back into the corporate grind. They have a creative idea that they want to express. And I think this platform really gives them the opportunity to do that. So that's really why I was so attracted to becoming an investor, because I see this as not just for this year, next year, 5 years. I think 20 years down the road, as Radivision becomes a global entity, it's going to serve so many people and create a better life for so many people.
Thank you so much for all that,
Thanks.
Meta, and for your support. I do, just to clarify for our audience also so that they understand. So Radivision is like a Netflix for the startup world. Okay, it's a streaming network, but it also has, like a LinkedIn integrated to it, a social network, a community network that's LinkedIn. So every video, every story that you connect to, you can easily click to the founders, you can easily click to the company profile pages. And then if the companies are fundraising or have other opportunities, career opportunities, collaboration opportunities, you can click to those URLs. So 1 or 2 clicks and boom, you're in direct contact with those companies. So imagine if you're watching Shark Tank, where the audience also gets to be a shark, and then they can click and invest. So we are not a broker dealer. We are not a licensed crowdfunding platform. We work with all of those folks in the FINRA licensed structure of the capital markets and refer them clients. Our goal is to bring all of the people who are fascinated and interested in this new economy. They want to participate, and maybe they already have a job. Maybe they don't want to be an entrepreneur because it's really intense and high risk, and we need doctors and nurses and teachers and lawyers also. Not everybody can be an entrepreneur, although 60% of all college graduates today are seeking entrepreneurial jobs or want to grow their own business, and 17% already have their first business started. So that's a massive number. That's over almost 80% of college graduates are going to be entrepreneurial. So this is the new economy. And yet, in the media world, we have a media channel for everything. You can go to ESPN for sports, or Bloomberg for financial news, or Disney for family and children's programming, and Netflix for TV and movies, and Hulu. And yet there's nothing other than one show for the last 15 years, Shark Tank, that we know has this massive Shark Tank effect where people watch it and they click and they buy millions of dollars of products overnight, and they download millions of apps at a time. And a lot of companies go on Shark Tank not even to raise money. They simply want the free advertising opportunity, the Shark Tank effect that finally gets eyeballs behind this curtain so that they can connect and build their consumer brand. And if they have consumer products, customers can buy. And even if you have a consumer brand, I learned from my 10 years doing 4 IPOs as director of IR and VP of Corp Dev, that consumer brand can quadruple or quintuple the value of your company. And every company, B2B or B2C, has a consumer brand because there's a great story in there. Every startup is a hero story. It's a fascinating piece of content. There's tons of content being created. Every venture firm, Y Combinator, every accelerator, so much content being created, even in the entrepreneurship world. And yet there was no platform to showcase all of this. So when I was traveling all over the world in 14 through 16, the red carpets would roll out. I was keynote speaker everywhere because they were dying for any information from Silicon Valley. And I realized we really need to use the power of media as a mass consumer engagement and communication device to deliver the knowledge and the core of what we have here to the rest of the world and to consumer audiences so everybody can participate. And this will help the companies, just like with Shark Tank. It helps the companies a lot. And there's lots of articles you can Google on Shark Tank effect and see about that. So, and without further ado, I'd love to introduce Laura Kiernan, who, like me, came and is a spectacular expert in the investor relations field. So when we met, I think she understood us because of, basically Radivision is an investor relations platform. It's a way to showcase companies by telling their fabulous stories. And it's also a PR platform. And Laura also is our lead investor on WeFunder. So hopefully our producer can share our WeFunder address. So we have to, disclose that we're testing the waters. This is a crowdfunding campaign. This is approved by the SEC for companies now for several years. Equity crowdfunding has been approved by the SEC. And so you can come in, and so there's the disclosure language, and then you can go to wefunder.com/Radivision, and all of our information is there. And you can see our videos and deck and Q&A and ask questions and so on. So, and I thank Laura for helping introduce us to crowdfunding because she's been teaching about it, clients on it. She has an incredible program called Raising Millions. And Laura, please introduce yourself and share, your lead investment perspective on Radivision.
I will. Thank you so much for having me, Mona. It's a pleasure for me to be here. As Mona mentioned, I'm the CEO and founder of Raising Millions, which is one of my companies. I have another company called High Touch Investor Relations. And we work with dozens of founders on their journeys, on their financial strategies and journeys. I did first meet Mona at a pitch competition. It was over a year ago, and I've listened to dozens of pitches, and I heard hers, and instantaneously it resonated with me. And so I reached out to Mona right away, and I made my first investment. And I've been following the story for a while. And when Mona mentioned that she would like to do a raise, I was very happy to work with her on a crowdfunding raise and sign on as her lead investor. So one of the reasons why I like Radivision and the platform that it is that I think that, again, going back to what Art said, was timing is just so perfect. There were so many elements to what he said that he sort of, took the words out of my mouth, or I wish I could have said it as eloquently as he could have. But we're at a point in time right now in the United States, and to some degree globally, where we're seeing money flow moving from the public equity markets into the private capital markets. And that to some degree was answered in the video up front, which is being driven by higher returns. So making it more democratic, so to speak, for people that aren't necessarily institutional investors or high net worth to invest in companies and have the opportunity to accelerate their wealth in a way that they hadn't been previously. And then what we're also seeing in the U.S. capital markets is really, I would say, support from the SEC, from Washington, from a whole variety of constituents saying, hey, you know what? Small business is the engine of growth here. And how can we facilitate the growth of small business? Well, small businesses need capital to grow. And, they don't, people that start new businesses don't necessarily have the networks and the communities that traditional VC, companies that were funded by VC have had. So that is one reason why I really like the equity crowdfunding platforms. they give you an opportunity to market your company, to raise capital, and to find out who your cheerleaders are, who your fans are, and who in the community will help support and grow your business. I do think Mona is an extraordinarily visionary leader. She came up with this idea and has really put it into place. I've been amazed with the quality. Several of my clients have tried her platform. And those are really the reasons why I invested and continue to have a high level of interest in the company.
Thank you, Laura. And thank you for leading us in crowdfunding. So crowdfunding has been approved by the SEC since 2015 and 16, and then it's been expanded, and there were new harmonization of the regulations in 2021 and the definitions of the investor. So it continues to grow and expand. And yet during all of this time, I felt like it hardly moved the needle. It's still really hard to do. And basically because there's a gap, there's a marketing gap that's there. And that's the gap that Radivision is here to fill. We're here to tell the stories, build the audience and build the community and help the startups get the word out and help the people looking for startups and inspiring stories from entrepreneurs and great new products that are going to innovate and cure cancer and fix climate change and all sorts of hosts of other problems, help people connect to all of that. So thank you for that. And Sergey, thank you for joining us today and for supporting us. And there's so much I could say about you and your background, but I'd love for people to hear your voice and share your story.
Yeah, thank you, Mona. My experience is with matching users with the relevant content that they want to read. Most recently, I do it at Microsoft. When I first engaged with Mona, what really impressed me, I think, three things. And initially, I joined as an advisor, and then I was so impressed that I even joined as a CTO. So first was the founder, and Mona's sense of purpose, Mona's energy, resilience. At that point, Mona was already trying to grow the platform and overcame so many obstacles. It was just exciting to hear and experience. Second is opportunities for the impact. And impact, I think several people already mentioned the impact on in terms of wealth growth, in terms of opportunity to find out information. Let's say you are someone who is aspiring to create your own business. That can be high-tech business, it can be startup, but it can be also a small business. Like there's so much information that's on the website. Plus, there's the platform is really powerful tool, not just learn but also showcase what you're about. And other ways that people can benefit. So obviously, not just learning and showcasing, but also multiplying their wealth. If they're interested in a particular industry, they can really find out more about it and decide whether they are interested in investing, even if they are not an accredited investor. And that's what we talked about, the wealth gap that is continuing to grow. And that is partially driven by that, by the opportunities to invest into either private or public markets. And and the third part that really attracted me to Radivision is opportunity to really improve the product. And we talked about some of the potential customers. First of all, of course, these are viewers, and the content that's on the platform is spectacular. So Shark Tank definitely comes to mind once you start looking at some of the shows. second, entrepreneurs. They want to find out more, learn. Address the platform is really providing all the tools that to showcase, learn, grow, connect, and the third type of users is investors, and there might be individual investors or even institutional investors. So if you think about early stage investors like angel investors, they have very few signals to work with when they're making a decision about investment. And seeing engagement from other users might be a very powerful indicator of potential for success of some of the companies, startups represented on the market. So when I saw all of this, I saw an opportunity to apply my own experience, connecting users to that relevant experience, and gain these are users, viewers, these are aspiring entrepreneurs and potential investors.
Fantastic. So thank you so much, Sergey. And Sergey didn't mention that he's a bona fide genius, went to college at age 16. He used to win physics competitions all around the world, and has his PhD and an MBA, and worked with Amazon and Microsoft now, and Nordstrom's. And also he's a true entrepreneur and investor. He's had a couple of companies he's co-founded, and he served us as CTO for a while, and also helping advise us. And hopefully you'll be advising us even more, because Sergey joined us, I think, even a little bit early for us, because it's really about the data. And now is when we're really going out to the audience and growing the audience. But he helped us build our first data collection, development for the site. And I think you were most excited about the AI, right? The fintech AI, because, how does Radivision make money, right? We're like Netflix, except we're not charging a subscription fee. So we're a little bit more like LinkedIn and other social networks that don't charge a subscription fee, because their value comes from having as many users as possible, right? So with every additional user, there's an exponential growth of the value of the network, right? Metcalfe's law. And so for us, we knew that our primary business was not going to be Shark Tank, the show. I mean, Shark Tank is a media production show, but there's this massive business in clicks and purchases and downloads that's happening off of the Shark Tank platform that they're not accessing, right? All those dollars, the Shark Tank show doesn't do anything, doesn't get a piece of that. But for us, we are a B2B2C business. So the startups can join and participate for free. The viewers can come in and watch for free. But it's really the other B, companies like TriNet Corporation, who has a very visionary chief marketing officer who happened to be the president of Disney Studios and EVP of Disney Global Marketing, and also headed marketing and communications for HP and IBM and Flex before TriNet. And so when he came in and saw our product and loved it and loved Sheekonomics, and purchased it, licensed it from us, and we co-produced the first Sheekonomics show that we introduced last March together. And so that's our business model. And now we're finally at a point where we're going out full blast. We're really growing the community. We want to have 20 million viewers coming in regularly on a monthly basis by the end of the year. And we're finally going to get large enough, for the numbers and the AI to now produce substantial revenue streams, similar to, like, for example, ESPN. You come in and watch the programs, but ESPN also has this multi-billion-dollar business referring sports betting referrals. Okay, they don't do the sports betting. That's a licensed business for someone else, but they just closed a deal with Caesars for naming rights that I know last year was announced at $3 billion. So there's a massive opportunity to have a lead generation business. So we, help startups and other customers find terrific companies like TriNet's, HR solutions, like SAP, who partnered with us, Founder Institute, accelerator programs, WeFunder, and others like that. So we're excited now to finally be ready to, really take our AI and investor referrals forward and, build that business. So thank you, Sergey, for continuing to support us there. And then Steve, last but certainly not least, we talk practically on a daily basis. You've really been an incredible member of the team, not just a multiple investor in the company. So I'd love for you to introduce yourself and share your story with us.
Sure, thanks, Mona. It's a pleasure. So I grew up in New York, went to high school in the late 70s, and I always kind of dreamed of coming out to Silicon Valley. My dad almost got a job in LA, so California was close enough, but that fell through, so I had to wait. Then ended up getting a doctorate, spending 9 years in Ann Arbor, Michigan, getting a doctorate in medicinal chemistry, and I finally got my break when my graduate advisor introduced me to a company in Foster City. At that point, a 30-person startup, just raising, I think, just their A round at that point. And lo and behold, 25 years later, it was a Fortune 500 company. During that time, I had great vision into how Silicon Valley startup works, seeing the company grow throughout the years, and fortunately was sponsored for an MBA program there, and transitioned from chemistry to the law department, and ended up going to law school, getting my law degree, and joining the California bar. And when I left the company in 2013, I said, wow, I wanted to come to Silicon Valley, work with startups, and I've took this 25-year hiatus, so I better get started. Fortunately, I was blessed in being able to accumulate some capital to do some angel investing at that point. And I, with my knowledge, experience, education, I thought, well, let's see what we can do. And I got, introduced to Mona back around 2018, and I really thought, she was really onto something. I see a lot of, nerdy tech sites like TechCrunch, Crunchbase, The Verge, but they're all really a lot of them all about either very nerdy technical stuff or marketing, not really for public consumption, which is unfortunate. I think what Mona came up with was this site where everyone can learn about entrepreneurship, either to be an entrepreneur, to support an entrepreneur, or to just enjoy the human stories about these people who overcome incredible obstacles to create great value. And I did notice that, when I was at Gilead Sciences, that's the company I joined back in the early 90s, IPOs were everything. Everyone was trying to get the latest hot IPO, and people were making money off that. But then, 25 years later, not so much, right? And again, as Laura and Art and others here mentioned, basically the investment's been coming in at the private stage and staying at the private stage. Now, there are probably a lot of reasons for that. I think a lot of companies don't like being a public company with all the burdens. I mean, just look at Elon Musk and Twitter. So I really loved what Mona was doing, and I have to really emphasize that I invest in entrepreneurs, because many companies startups pivot so many times, but it's really about the entrepreneur. Are they authentic? Do they have the stakeholders' best interests at heart? And do they have hustle, and incredible hustle, superhuman hustle? I mean, literally superhuman hustle. I really only invest in people that I see have the superhuman hustle, because I know how hard it is. And eventually I invested several rounds. I joined as an advisor, and just because of the area the company is working with, I thought they could really help. They could really use help on the legal side. So I did join as acting general counsel. And there it is. I think the company has an incredibly important mission, and I hope you all can join us in our success.
Thank you, Steve. And Steve's a little humble, so I'm going to add on a little to that. So Steve joined Gilead Sciences. I think you forgot to mention the name, which is an incredible company. When he joined, it was about 20 people. He took the ride you mentioned, 25 years, going from 20 people through IPO to becoming a multi-billion dollar company that delivered as close to a cure as you can possibly have to AIDS. So when I was graduating,
saving millions,
Yeah,
millions and millions of lives with their therapies.
yeah, really incredible. And tens of thousands of employees, so creating economic growth, amazing jobs, high paying jobs, saving lives, improving the quality of life for all of humanity. I mean, this is what entrepreneurship is about. This is why I fell in love with it. And so to be able to help more successes like Gilead Sciences to happen would be fantastic. And Steve grew from, he has 1 million degrees and, at least a PhD, a master's, an MBA, and a law degree. And so he went from being a scientist to, developing also all the intellectual property, because it's really important, for Gilead Sciences to own its patents and intellectual property to bring these solutions to market, because it takes millions of dollars and years, if not billions of dollars to get there. So that's, I didn't even realize, until my graduate studies, that Thomas Jefferson hard baked the U.S. patent system from our earliest days. So it's part of the DNA of Americans to be innovative, to be creative. It's not only the pioneer spirit. We came from Europe to have freedom of spirit, how we want to worship, and also to create wealth, because the wealth system was so hard baked in Europe, that only very few at the very top of the pyramid of the feudal system could create. So here, nowhere more than in entrepreneurship is it really a system where your own ingenuity and effort and dedication really can take you to the next level. So Steve was terrific also from early on. He realized we had a ton of intellectual property. We have 13 original shows. We have brands registered, and trademarks that he's helped us register. So he's supported us in that. And it's taken a couple of years. And we do have a couple of registered trademarks and more on the way. And he's helped us, with our first contracts and conversations with clients. So I know we're a little bit over our time. There are a couple of questions, if it's okay, if we share some of the questions, and then whoever wants to answer, feel free to jump in. So I think a couple of these we've already answered. And so someone's asking how they can invest in Radivision. So maybe our producer can put that address back up again. Oh, and Peter's asking, did you invest because of the mission or the financial opportunity, or question mark? Maybe both, maybe. So if someone wants to jump in and answer something that maybe we haven't already answered.
I'm happy to answer that. For me, I have two reasons for investing. Yes, the financial opportunity, because I do believe this could be a very, very big financial opportunity. I am hoping for 100 bagger. I'm hoping this, but really, part of my core values is to be fearless and to help others be fearless, especially in the financial arena. And I just saw so much potential in what Mona was doing, not only for Radivision and Radivision investors, but for the entire ecosystem. So I do think that it has the potential to really, really change and accelerate things in this category.
Awesome. Thank you. And we're just at the beginning. There's a lot more to go. So market timing, I know a couple of you have touched upon that. So I'll just say that many of my businesses have been 10 years ahead of their time, which is painful, because usually you're drilling through that solid granite mountain with your head as the drill bit. So luckily I've been building Radivision for 6.5 years. So I'm only a couple of years ahead of my time. From my perspective, I think the timing very definitely is now. And because the SEC laws have evolved, there's 80 licensed crowdfunding platforms. There's even more licensed broker dealers and other folks, players in the market who are helping companies come out. I also see that, all of venture capital is right now is about 900 billion total assets under management, with about 200 billion in dry powder at the beginning of 2023. Yet retail investor assets are $64 trillion. And that's down from 80 trillion from the high, pre the 2022 meltdown. 64 trillion versus, 900 billion. People may think retail, oh, these are little investors and they're not important. And, I used to do investor relations. I would answer the phone when grandma called in 93 and 95. And, and she wanted to know how her investment was doing, or when the hedge fund called, and I would answer those calls too. And so, now you collectively bring them together. So how do you take hundreds of millions of cats and herd them together and organize things and educate them and expose them for discovery and use the modern tools of modern technology to help them follow companies they like, to be able to pull data so they can tell who's growing, who's progressing, who's attracting a lot of attention, and so on. And this is also valuable information for the professionals in the business, for someone like Art to see, someone getting a lot of traction on the consumer level. Maybe there's something there. We should investigate that further. So I do think that the time really is now. I'm a little jealous of when Hulu got started and they had 100 million from day one from Providence Equity, who came in because Fox was there, and I think News Corp was there, not Fox, but News Corp was there, Disney with ABC, and then GE at the time owned NBC, and then Comcast took over. So they came in and valued the company from day one at $1 billion with $100 million investment. And when Disney bought 21st Century Fox, and the last piece of Hulu was negotiated, I think, at a price of about $28 billion. And this is about 10 years later. And I do believe that we have a multi-billion-dollar opportunity when you look at the comps. So Laura and I in IR, one of the first things we do is we pull comps. Like when you buy a house, how much is a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house worth in your neighborhood? What if I'm going to build a house in a neighborhood, what can I sell it for? And so I looked at investor referral businesses like ESPN with their multi-billion-dollar business, like Credit Karma, which was acquired for $8 billion in December of 20, like NerdWallet that went IPO at $3 billion in 21, and other, investor referral businesses like that. So hopefully we're, this is our time. And if anybody else would like to pipe in or answer some of the other questions. I think someone asked also about our progress. How do you feel the company has progressed since investing? So I'd like to move faster. I like to go 300 miles an hour. So if anybody's ready with a $100 million investment, I promise you we can deploy that and put it to work. We basically built, a 100-person company with 20% of that manpower. So we have a really dedicated, really passionate team, amazing advisors, as you can see, who don't just advise and who don't just invest. They're hands-on, and we thank them and add to their equity, so they're growing with us as they're helping us grow. So any last word? Yeah, please, Art.
Just to put it into a few words, there's 4 reasons that we invested and why I think this is a great opportunity. It's the enormity, as Mona just pointed out. This is a huge opportunity, and matching that, the second reason is the need is there. The need of so many people is not being met to play in this game. Third, I already mentioned the timing. I think the timing is perfect, and what's happened between then and now, how the company's grown, what Mona has done, has been phenomenal effort and compassion and sweat. I mentioned that before. And the fourth reason is Mona. Nothing like it. I've worked for 40 some years in this industry, and there's only one Mona.
Oh, well, thank you, Art. This is, that this is more than just a company, a startup. This is my 4th startup that I founded. I've been part of 12 teams over 30 years. This is my life mission. I'm really a humanitarian at heart, and I do believe this is a multi-billion-dollar valuation opportunity. But this also it has tremendous social impact, financial impact. I do believe that we can spur on the next renaissance because there's a massive amount of talent and innovation that's not getting funded. 90% of all startups seeking venture capital do not raise. And 90% of investors, if you're not the ultra, if you're not a qualified institutional buyer or ultra high net worth or have the ability to get in those top deals, you're part of the 90% retail and accredited who can't even get into these deals. So you have 90% of investors frustrated, 90% of founders frustrated. This is a huge problem. There's a tremendous amount of frustration. So if we can better align and better communicate and inform people and facilitate a flow of capital that the SEC has worked for over a dozen years on and very dedicated. Usually the regulation holds you up. The regulation's already approved, right? So this is, everything is lined up and ready to go. I'm very excited about where we're going next, because remember, these are the companies that are curing cancer and fixing climate change and just about every problem that humanity has. So we're also taking the financial system and not just grinding out cash or paper profits like crypto or whatever. I know crypto does serve a purpose in countries where currencies may not be legitimate or may have other issues, but here we're actually curing cancer and fixing climate change. And so we're really aligning value with value. So here, entrepreneurs make money when we actually solve problems, because then people give us value back. They give us that $100 note or whatever the value of that note is. So I'm very excited about both the business that we're building and about the impact that it's going to have on society all over the world when we can increase the success of emerging businesses. So thank you all for being here. Thank you for your support, and thank you for sharing with the world who you are and what you are and why you do it. And let's see you on Radivision.com. Lots more coming this year. Lots of live interviews and shows. Chiconomics in March, Women's History Month. So we're going to be honoring 10 amazing organizations that support women in entrepreneurship. The facts, the research, the data are astounding. So look at our social media channels, join us for our shows, go on Radivision, send us your comments, and please go to wefunder.com/Radivision and click to see what other people have said and join us, own a piece of this next new amazing network, streaming and community platform for the startup world. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mona.